Ramanatha Brahmachari. Bhagavan once said, I am afraid of only two people. One is Ramanatha Brahmachari, and the other is Mudalar Pati. He said this because these two ascetics serve Bhagavan with utter selfless devotion. Ramanatha Brahmachari was a student of the Veda Pathashala, which is the school for Vedas, which was in the town. When he met Bhagavan, his mind and heart opened up, and he felt his whole being immersing in silence. Then and there, he decided to be with Bhagavan for as long as possible. Though the Pathashala provided free food and lodging to its students, young Ramanatha preferred to stay with Bhagavan. He begged for food on the streets and took that food to Bhagavan in Virupaksha cave. Whatever Bhagavan shared with him, he ate willingly. Such was the beauty and surrender of this ascetic. Bhagavan's mother allowed him to serve her because he was a Brahmin boy, and Bhagavan's mother was still following her orthodox ways. Ramanatha would help wash her vessels as well as her clothes, and she would call out his name, Ramanatha, Ramanatha, for every errand. Hearing her, Bhagavan would humorously remark, the japa of my mother has started again. One day, Bhagavan told Ramanatha that he had realized the self. Ramanatha could not believe it. He sought confirmation from Bhagavan repeatedly. Bhagavan reassured him many times, yes, Ramanatha, you have realized the self. Nevertheless, Ramanatha was still incredulous. Bhagavan got up and rapped his head with his knuckles and repeated, yes, Ramanatha, you are realized. This simple devotee went into ecstasy and ran out of the room, telling everyone he met, this is the place where Bhagavan knuckled me. He was not excited to be told that he had attained self-realization. Bhagavan's knuckling him was greater than self-realization for him. The innocent disciple also served the other devotees of Bhagavan. When he started living at Palakotu, Murunganar, Ganapati Muni, Paul Brunton, S.S. Cohen, and Vishwanatha Swami, as well as Kunju Swami, were some of its other residents. Their only purpose was to be with Bhagavan for as much time as possible. This would have been denied to them had they been working in the ashram office. Every evening, of his own accord, Ramanatha Brahmachari would sweep all their huts and clean their oil lamps with dedication and devotion. In the daytime, he would go to the town to obtain their simple requirements from the shops. Despite doing all this, Ramanatha Brahmachari found enough time to come and sit in Bhagavan's presence. Bhagavan was his all. The residents of Palakotu did not report to Bhagavan about what a great help Ramanatha Brahmachari was to them. One day, Vishwanatha Swami received a postcard in which the postscript read, please convey my prostrations to the Palakotu Sarvadikari, which meaning the ashram of the Palakotu Sadhu community. Bhagavan would sometimes distribute letters received by post to the recipients. He gave a broad smile before handing it over to Vishwanatha Swami and exclaimed, who is the Palakotu Sarvadikari? Ramanatha Brahmachari, who was seated in the farthest corner of the hall, got up with folded hands and said, Bhagavan, they call me the Palakotu Sarvadikari since I do all their daily errands. They permit me to do this service to them and express their approval of it by calling me the Sarvadakari. Bhagavan looked very pleased and said, "A true Sarvadakari should be like this." On another occasion, Dandapani Swami, a tall and sturdy resident who demanded obedience from others, picked up a quarrel with Ramanatha Brahmachari. Despite his fragile body, Ramanatha Brahmachari was not relenting. Dandapani Swami pushed Ramanatha Brahmachari down and, looking down at him, shouted, "Do you know who I am?" obviously referring to his physical strength. Ramanatha Brahmachari, lying on the ground, replied humbly with folded hands, "Dandapani Swami, have we all not got together here for the noble purpose of finding out who am I?" On hearing the words, "Who am I?" Dandapani Swami gained his composure and apologized for his misdemeanor. Then both went to Bhagavan, and Dandapani Swami himself narrated what had happened. Bhagavan nodded with a benign smile. When a man arrived at the ashram with a calf, which Bhagavan named Lakshmi, there was nobody to look after her. Since there was danger from panthers and tigers, Bhagavan remarked, "There is nobody to look after Lakshmi, else she could have been kept here." Then the diminutive 4.5-foot tall Ramanatha said, "Bhagavan, I will look after Lakshmi." This was the beginning of the Ramanasramam Goshala, the cowshed. As the train came in only at 8:30 in the night, most of the outstation devotees would invariably arrive late. In Ramana Ashramam, almost everyone went to sleep by 7:30 after dinner, which was at 7. Bhagavan wanted the visitors attended to. Nobody offered to look after them. Ramanatha said, "Bhagavan, I will look after them." Every night he would stay awake attending to the visitors. The next day Bhagavan would give him a big smile and affectionately say, "Oh, so you received them and attended to their needs. Good, very good." One day when Bhagavan was going round the hill with Ramanatha and the other devotees, each one was asked to speak on a spiritual topic. Ramanatha, in an ecstatic state, compared Bhagavan with Lord Shiva and his devotees with the Bhutaganas, which are Shiva's attendants. Later, at the request of Bhagavan and the others, he wrote it down in Tamil verses. The first verse means, "I saw the Lord of Tiruchui and got fixed without returning again," which means, "I achieved realization, no more have I the body. My Lord bestowed on me this self-realization." My mother, this is Sri Ganesan, was an ardent devotee of Bhagavan, and she loved Ramanatha Brahmachari. I once asked my mother, "Which song do you like of all the songs of Murunganar, Sadhu Om, Shiva Praksam Pillai, and all the rest of the devotees?" My mother replied, "The song I like the most is the one composed by Ramanatha Brahmachari. The song is as follows. I have seen Tiruchuzi Nathan, the Lord of Tiruchuzi, and unable to turn back, I stood there transfixed. He is the Lord who dances in Chindavaram, who protects the helpless, and is merciful to them. The same Tinderchunathan manifested himself as God in Virupaksha cave on the hill in sacred Tiruvannamalai. Jiva was ruling unjustly in the town of Kayapuri, which is symbolizing of the body, with the Karanas, which symbolizes the sense organs and the organs of action, as his subjects, and Ahankara, the ego, as his minister. After some time, Jiva took up the sword of God's grace and cut off the head of his minister, the ego, Ahankara. Having so cut off the minister's head, the Jiva stood with God, who was dancing all by himself in the cave, called Daha Pralaya, the heart's abode. He is this Tiruchunathan. I saw him and stayed there, being unable to get away. In 1946, Ramanatha Brahmachari fell sick. He was taken to Madras, now called Chennai, for treatment, but passed away. When the news reached Bhagavan, he observed total silence, which in 1946 was very rare. Hundreds of people were around, but he was totally absorbed. Devotees like Ramanatha Brahmachari show us how to surrender to a yani, a realized being, and get liberation in this life.